monsters, eldritch gods, gore, and an ever-creeping dread.
All this and more on SUFFOCATING.
These are 15 new metal albums perfect for the Halloween season, and we're starting with A Causal Intrusion with Panpsychism. If you love the pitch-black atmospheric death metal void of bands like Abyssal and Portal, do not sleep on this record. This duo delivers a cavernous weight behind their songs that is absolutely bereft of even a glimmer of light. And in particular, if you are looking for music to herald in spooky season, this is absolutely it. Jagged riffs, unpredictable rhythms, and chilling, bellowing death growls echo into oblivion. I also appreciate how they managed to sprinkle in the spookier earworm hooks to pull the chaos together and make the experience more engaging. Truly chilling stuff.
I'm so scared right now.
If you want something a little bit more campy though, check out Exhum's new EP, Beyond the Dead. Once more, just in time for horror movie season, it's more gore-soaked death metal from one of the grimiest bands in the game. As daylight hours decline, who doesn't love turning off the lights with a good slasher or banging your head to music about rotting corpses? Also, that bass tone is absolutely gnarly and the vocals brutal as hell. It's nothing death metal fans haven't heard a million times before, but if you just want some horror-themed headbanging music for October, you can't go wrong with this little EP.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Then we have Blut aus Nord with Disharmonium, Nahab. The French experimental black metal giants are back with part 2 of last year's Lovecraftian Undreamable Abysses. True to the conceptual elements, this album really does feel like a spine-tingling encounter with elder gods. And somehow Nahab feels even more nightmarish in its seemingly formless void than its predecessor. This truly is amongst the darkest of abysses the band has crafted to date. I still prefer part 1 overall, but playing them back to back is sure to set the mood as the leaves begin to fall. I'd also say that this would be the perfect ambience for a haunted house.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
What? Then we have VHS with Quest for the Mighty Riff. Back to the camp, this Canadian band is on a mission to write songs about all of the sleaziest B-movies around. And this time they've turned their attention to the monsters and black magic of classics like Conan the Barbarian, Conquest, Highlander, and Beastmaster. Think of them as the Troma films of death metal. And in addition to their own degenerate, crusty antics, expect several guest appearances from Hellripper's James McBain, Exhumed and Gruesome's Matt Harvey, and even more. It may not be exclusively horror, but these are still the types of movies I like to throw on in October, and if you want, you can delve back into their previous albums for all manner of vampires, zombies, and famous slashers.
Behold the wonder, the horror, the fantasy.
Then there's Thantafaxith with Hive Mind Narcosis. More avant-garde black metal that provokes both the terror and uncanniness of nightmares. Blizzards of Imperial Triumphant-esque tremolos, hellish descents into Deathspell Omega and Blut aus Nord, and harrowing attempts to claw your way back from the maw in technical and progressive displays of Enslaved meets Krallis. A rare case, too, where I'm all in with the doom elements as they sound absolutely vast and cavernous in their negative space. This entire album is just a soul-sucking vacuum of nothingness and despair, seemingly designed to test the listener's endurance and mental fortitude. Only recommended to those who want to experience true terror. Then there's Portrayal of Guilt with Devil Music. This band only seems to get more dark and raw with each release, drifting into a similar atmosphere as groups like Indian and Lord Mantis. Devil Music finds the band further experimenting with a side A and side B that offer two different interpretations of the same 5 songs. First with the usual sickening churn of distortion, and then again like some demonic string quartet complete with Robert Eggers-like imagery. Everything an extreme metal fan would want is on display here. Malevolent blackened vocals like a demon spitting phlegm and bile, sludgy reptilian sounding guitars, and apocalyptic blast beats. By the end I feel as if my soul has been completely drained from my body. And as a big fan of creepy violin and cello, side B easily makes this their best work to date for me.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Then there's Alterage with Worst Case Scenario. Every time this band drops something, I'm immediately all over it, and as much as I love Portal and spoke highly of them last year in my spooky bands tier list, more and more I feel like this band out of Spain is giving them a run for their money. This album is dense, with meticulously crafted blackened menace, from dissonant barrages of noisy, technical guitars to deeply menacing, head-bob-inducing passages of hypnotic doom. Everything about this band's sound is utterly apocalyptic, and Cataract is the perfect truncated showcase of everything that they have to offer. If you like what you hear, be sure to check out their other full lengths. You can also check out the previously vinyl-only Sol Corrupto, which is now on Bandcamp as of September 2nd. Next up is Seven Doors, Feast of the Repulsive Dead. Some more raunchy, old-school-minded death metal for you. Seven Doors is a one-man horror-themed project named after the hotel in Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. And if you had fun with the new Cannibal Corpse, Seven Doors delivers on a pretty similar take on the genre. In addition to the chugging riffs and head-bobbing pace, I love the explosions of reverb-soaked, spooky cemetery guitars. I mean, really, with track names like the Morbid Mortician, the Hack Shack, and Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, you should already have a pretty good idea of what to expect from this one.
Chud.
Then we have the Primitive Man and Full of Hell split, Suffocating Hallucination. These are easily two of the most primal, destructive acts in metal right now, so you'd better believe I was beyond hyped to hear what a collaboration between the two would sound like. Trepanation for Future Joys is a pretty typical Primitive Man sounding track, while Rubble Home incorporates a little more of those Full of Hell noise elements. But the crown jewel here is Closer, Tunnels of God, which while initially focused on drone and ambient elements, ultimately builds into a particularly harrowing bit of melodic doom misery. Just over 35 minutes, expect a variety of approaches to nihilism, from the appropriately titled 26-second grinder bludgeon to the bleak negative space of dwindling will. This would actually fit nicely on a playlist with Bluthaus Nord.
Come play with us, Daddy.
Then we have Maze of Terror with The Night Where the Evil Prevails. This Peruvian trio just dropped this underground gem in September, and it's a real gift to fans of horror and thrash metal alike. The music is deeply inspired by the 80s sound of bands like Sarcofago and Dark Angel, while the lyrics are each focused on a different cult classic horror film. We're talking everything from cannibals and butchers to Freddy Krueger and the Dark Lord himself. The best thing is that even the conceptual elements aside, this 5-song EP just stands as a rock-solid album in the genre, and one that truly nails that old-school sound without feeling like a cheap imitation. Killer riffs, filthy vocals, and ominous atmosphere, fantastic stuff. Then there's Sulphur Aeon with 7 Crowns and 7 Seals. These Lovecraftian Blackened death metalers continue to deliver on an incredible atmosphere of dark cosmic horror, all the while injecting eerie hooks like serpents slithering through your ear canals. They really caught my attention with 2015's Gateway to the Antisphere, and now they continue their unholy worship of the Ancient Ones. If I close my eyes, I can almost see eldritch terrors beyond description emerging from blasphemous portals in the sky. Think Behemoth the Satanist, but with a much deeper sense of Lovecraftian lore. A perfect balance of death metal, black metal, and doom to herald in an elder god apocalypse.
Where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
Then there's Autopsy with ashes, organs, blood, and crypts. As of the time of this recording, this is the only album on this list not yet released, but come on, with a title like that, how could we not include it? From the track names to the album art, it's clear that this record was made with October in mind. And also, given the short time frame since the last album, the title feels like it's referencing Tourniquets, Hacksaws, and Graves, which was made up of leftover ideas from the album that came just a year before that. Regardless, there are plenty of big-name death metal albums we could have included on here, but this feels like the one most singularly focused on what the season is all about.
Here's Johnny!
Then there's Carnifex with Necromantium. This album, much like previous works from Shadow of Intent, is all about the bombastic dark camp of Dimmu Borgir, but with a deathcore foundation. From the super spooky album art that is now my phone background to the creepy string and brass editions, this album truly does feel like unholy worship of the undead. It's not scary, but it is fun in that kind of Nightmare Before Christmas kind of way, right down to the often Danny Elfman-esque symphonic elements. The riffs are sick, the vocals absolutely disgusting, and how much they compel me to flail my limbs like a zombie. Then add the perfect amount of brass and strings for the perfect graveyard atmosphere.
Dead by dawn! Dead by dawn! Dead by dawn!
Next up is Dryad with the Abyssal Plane. Dryad is like a demented union of Lord Mantis, Absu, Emperor, and old school death metal. So much so that it's difficult to cleanly place it in any of the genres represented within its dark cacophony. Snarly, syncopated vocals, crusty beats, and menacing guitars bulldoze over the listener with raw production like coarse sandpaper. This overall abrasive approach is also broken up by a few surprise injections of eerie synth instrumentals inspired by giallo horror movies, which while brief provide an important counterbalance that prevents the listener from ever fully adapting to the maelstrom. You never know what to expect. And then of course there's The Lion's Daughter with Bathhouse. These days, when people ask me for the best metal band to play around Halloween, this is the first one that comes to mind. Because rather than simply writing songs with lyrics about horror movies, they write their own super sludgy horror movie soundtracks, basically, complete with synths that conjure the same feelings that I have watching Argento, early John Carpenter, and in one very specific case, The Exorcist. Bathhouse is only their latest in a string of sonic terror. This definitely feels like a more aggressive and riff-heavy album, but there are still some seriously dark and spooky moments, as with Your Pets Died on TV, She Does Not Exist, Liminal Blue, and especially 12/31/89. It's not as eerie and haunting as Skin Show, but it's still perfect for the season. Y'all check out this video ranking the spookiest metal bands, and let me know down in the comments what are your favorite metal bands and new albums to listen to during the Halloween season. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.